You're listening to Edge Radio TV. The views and opinions expressed in this program are that of the host or guests, and not the Edge Radio Network or its advertisers or affiliates.
Good afternoon and happy Monday to everybody. Hope you guys had a great Mother's Day. My name is Robin B. and welcome to How You Livin on Edge Radio TV.
Yes.
And how you doing, Dr. Kiva?
I am good. I am good.
Great. Did you have a good Mother's Day?
I worked.
I knew you were going to say that. You were supposed to take Mother's Day off.
I know. I think my mother wanted me to take it off. However, I always celebrate my mother. Okay. I don't need that one day.
That is my attitude.
She's my girl.
Absolutely. And just like Valentine's Day, I don't want to be politically incorrect, but that's garbage. I really don't think Valentine's Day is.
So if you're in a relationship and he's been doing bad all year long, then Valentine's
that's
Day.
That's what I'm saying. Don't do that. Every year you should be treated like a queen. That's how I feel. What we do the same thing, and I love it. He cooks my favorite stuff, and I'm good with that. And I'll get some flowers, but don't buy me a gift. Don't buy me stuff. Don't make corporate America rich.
That's all it is, right?
Yeah.
Just another way to get money out of your pocket.
And Mother's Day, the same thing.
Exactly.
Except for mothers, and this was my argument. Because my mother is up in age,
right?
If it's important to her, then I'm going to do it. But if it's not important to her, and all she wants is to see her family. And she's asking for gifts.
My mother's like me.
What do you mean? She don't care one way or the other.
You can stop by, just pick me up some fish and drop it over.
That's what I'm like, and that's where you get it from. She's
exactly.
Like, done and done.
Done.
Did you get her a card? She don't play that mess.
I don't do cards.
Yeah, I ain't mad at you.
It's bad for the environment.
Yeah, that's right. That is very good.
No, I'm gonna tell you what she and her friends used to do. So it was a group of them. And they would buy one card, right?
Okay.
So whoever's birthday is first, they get the card.
Okay.
The next person, they get the same card.
Are you serious?
And they go.
So that's where you get your sense of responsibility.
No, they're just silly. And so they would do it for
adorable.
The year, and then they would get another card the next year, and then it would just go through all the friends.
For birthdays and everything?
No, just birthdays.
Okay.
It's like, okay, now it's your turn to get the card.
I think that's a really unique idea. I never thought of that. But because then you get to the point where, okay, what am I supposed to do with all these cards? And see, I'm sentimental. I can't throw a card away. We just recently went in the attic of the old house, oh my God, and found all of my 40-year-old son's artwork from the first grade.
Oh my goodness! Really?
Now that is pretty sad. I'm too sentimental. I couldn't bring myself to throw it away, so I just give it to him.
I'll throw a card away unless it's really cool and I can put it in a frame.
Oh, you know what? That's how you upcycle. That is how you upcycle.
Upcycle. What is this?
Speaking of which, okay, and you know what? Thanks for that segue. So this weekend I'm just driving down the street, and I see this big sign that says Art Show. And it's sort of like it looked like sort of like a farmer's market, but for art. So there people with homemade jewelry, which I got this ring.
Nice.
And artwork, and it was just all kinds of people making stuff. And there was one artist there who she upcycled a lot of stuff. So she told me about this program that I'm very interested in. Every month, the third Saturday of every month, there's a place called Imperial Recreation Center. So everybody involved, these are all artists. So you bring all the junk from your house, anything that you don't want anymore. You put it on the table. It's called a junk swap. And then you go through and you take whatever you want from the other tables. Everyone just swaps what they don't want.
Right.
And what's left over, you take whatever is not sold, but then they take your junk and they turn it into art. And that made me think of course, Mr. Washington.
Right.
Because he is the classic upcycler.
He is All the way, yes.
So if he's not familiar with this, I'll be.
So where is that location?
So it's called Imperial Park, and it's at Matledge Way in Sugar Land. There's a post office right there. Okay. Actually, it's right also across from where they have their, every weekend they have a farmer's market there.
Oh, nice.
So there's a lot going on over there.
Okay, so you can go into your house,
yeah,
spring clean, summer
absolutely.
Clean. That dresser that doesn't work, and then take it over there.
Computer screen. I told you, I think I see a bone. I'm not sure if it's human.
Yeah, I hope it
I see like a carburetor, iron, telephone. Yeah, anything, because everything is, one man's junk is another man's treasure.
Oh, nice. So that's good to know.
Yeah, so I think that's our PSA for the day.
So those cards, you can take them over there,
all my greeting cards are going to be reused. I'm sure somebody can turn it into art. Maybe a paper mache or something.
Exactly. So what is on the table today for us?
Let me tell you about this lady we have coming today. In my opinion, I call her the female version of David because she fights Goliath at every turn.
Oh, I was about to say, who's David?
She has fought so many Goliaths, and she is fearless. She is a fierce advocate of anything that is unjust.
Right.
So I thought it makes sense that she's going to run for governor. It really does.
Running for governor.
Because she's taking it to that. She's skipping by all the lower offices. She's like, we got to get Abbott out of there.
Wow.
So we should have a really good time learning a lot about things that go on behind the scenes that we don't know about.
Well, cool. So I guess today is political
Monday. Political Monday, and her name is Miss Deirdre Dixon Gilbert, and you guys are about to meet her in a few minutes.
Cool. So definitely, if you have any questions for
Miss Deirdre,
woman power,
girl power,
running for
Who
governor.
runs the world?
Girls. And so definitely give us some questions so we can ask her some questions on Facebook Live.
Yeah, this is the time to do it.
Definitely. So join us, and we'll take this little short break, and we'll come back with Miss Gilbert.
Be right back.
Are you living just to get by? Are you looking for some blue sky? Are you living? Are you living? Are you living just to get by? Are you looking for some blue sky?
Hey y'all, I'm Robin B.
And I'm Dr. Kiva.
And we just want to know
how you living?
Join us every Monday
at noon Central Standard Time
here on Edge Radio TV. Take care.
When people stop talking to each other, society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
The Natural Nation Network is really about taking control of your health physically, spiritually, emotionally, even intellectually, because there's so much out there in misinformation. There's a lot of people now that are suffering from all sorts of diseases that they really wouldn't have to suffer for if they had better information. And that's what we're here to do. Provide information that can save lives.
The mind and the body are totally connected.
Health can be really serious, and sometimes we just have to lighten it up a little bit while we're still providing substantive information.
And my sort of mantra on the salsa dance floor is kind of similar. I tell somebody, if you make a mistake twice, it becomes a move. Okay.
Tune into Natural Nation every Tuesday at 11 a.m.
And welcome back to How You Livin on Edge Radio TV. And so today is political day. And we have someone with us who's going to teach us all about politics and run for governor.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. That's heavy duty.
Big time.
Well, welcome, Miss Deidre
Gilbert. Gilbert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how's it going today?
Oh, it's just wonderful, and thank you.
So
we're happy you're here today.
So tell us about you. Tell us who is Miss Gilbert?
Well, I'm just a mother, basically.
A super mother.
A super mom.
Yeah, big time.
Well, happy belated Mother's Day.
Thank you, and same to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so I am the national director, first of all, of an entity called the National Medical Malpractice Advocacy Association. And what we do in that particular industry is that we help those to maneuver through the medical community. So if someone has been harmed by medical error or just need an attorney or just help maneuvering through the system, we help them. We're the only one in the entire nation, nonprofit, that was created for that cause. There's no other one in the country. And the reason for that was because in 2011, my daughter became the victim of medical malpractice. And I've always been around the political arena, just never really had the desire to, sort of run for office. And 4 years ago, actually, I became the victim of debt collection. And I decided to run for office then when I started seeing how the court systems are working and against people in lower income areas. And so now I'm back again.
And that's because somebody else made you mad. So what Deirdre has a habit of doing is she doesn't get mad. She just does something. She really tackles things head on.
It's like a catalyst.
Absolutely.
And she's
big
like,
time. She's like, okay, well that's my next. That's my
I'm
next.
about to go fight.
Conquer. Yeah.
Right. So a product of Prairie View A&M University, political science major, mass communications. I have a background in political science. I have an author.
Yeah.
I have a background in medical coding and billing.
Yeah.
Pretty much, as I tell a lot of people, I didn't know it, but I believe that God had prepared the role for me years ago. Even as a little child, I was always giving things away to people who had nothing, or trying to help people along the way.
Right.
And so all of those skills just came about. I taught school for 26 years.
Whoa.
So I'm a former educator.
Yes,
Nice.
I do also work with a nonprofit where we help veterans, homeless
yes.
veterans find housing. We help with clothing and whatever it is that they need.
Jobs.
So jobs
Yeah.
and just pretty much everything.
I
So
don't know, Deidre. You talking about a governor that cares about education
you.
and cares about veterans
It's
and
unheard of.
medical.
It's
yes,
unheard of.
it's just people.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, having a daughter who was disabled, so I can identify as a woman. I can identify as a person who had a disabled child.
Right.
So I'm sort of like been groomed
Right.
in certain ways that many politicians who are running for office really can't speak of. You know, and so that's what I want to talk about a little bit today, and that's pretty much who I am.
Yeah.
Wow.
It just basically sounds like your entire persona is advocate. I
Yes.
mean, you have been, since I've known you, you have
Yes.
advocated for anything, and you're not afraid of tackling the big dogs. I mean, she'll attack I shouldn't say attack, but she will address the CEO of any entity whatsoever and scare
Right.
them to death. So,
Yes.
because one thing is you have your facts, and I love
Yes.
that, you know, you do your due diligence.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's so cool.
And that's the way it actually started. You know, I knew what politics looked like, and we all know that politics
It's ugly.
It's ugly,
Right,
right?
yeah.
And so, but looking at the landscape of Texas right now, and looking at what we're dealing with, it didn't just start. It's
Right.
been here.
Right.
However, I believe within the last 8 years or so, we're seeing some things that we probably would never in our lifetime
Right.
have ever imagined that these things would be happening.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of the things that we're talking about, or what we're going to talk about today, basically, hidden.
Right.
You know, we don't know. We're consumers. We're out here constituents, but we
Right.
really don't know what they are doing behind closed doors.
Right.
And I believe within the last 8 years, and especially the last 4 years, we really began to see
Right.
the infrastructure
Right.
of our political landscape.
Yeah. Because I
Yes.
would even say, even though we did go through the 4 years that we did go through, it did at least cause a lot of people to kind of wake up and get
Yes.
more politically involved.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's like
Absolutely.
it even though it was it did at least bring something positive
Right.
out of it.
Yes.
Instead of being apathetic, we were like a little bit terrified. So,
Yeah.
so we needed to be more involved,
Yeah,
and that's
and
what they kind of, like you
curious.
said, it woke us up, it shook us.
Yes.
So, what's going? Like, is it true that there have been several laws written recently or bills passed in Texas that we don't even know about?
I
Like
mean, pretty
voter
much.
things.
Like the voter suppression?
Right.
Is that a appropriate word to use?
Well, you know, it depends on what side you're on.
Okay, okay.
That uses
Well,
that term.
Is it true that they're making it harder for us to vote?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe, and truly, I believe that it's always been hard.
Yeah.
Again,
Mhm.
there are some things that are being put in place that is just making it harder.
Okay.
Let's say, for instance, for me, living in a mud district, and many people probably don't know what MUDs are, but they build these what they call unincorporated areas where they build homes, and you have all of the beautiful flowers. You have your own schools, and you're sort of like confined in a real beautiful community, right? Well, I found out that when I moved in that I couldn't vote in local elections. And your local elections are one of the most important elections of all times. I would go vote and would not see anything on the voting for me to vote for the people who were actually making decisions for me.
Right.
So I have an address of Missouri City, but they tell me that we don't live in Missouri City, or that we don't pay taxes to Missouri City, so therefore we don't have the right to vote.
That's crazy.
Now, that to me, that creation of creating those type of laws or bills, I have no idea how that came to be, because no one should be their voting rights should never be taken just
Right.
because of your zip code.
And that's the mud district, like you were
Yes.
saying.
And
That's what it's
right.
called.
Municipal.
Your
what's this?
municipal utility district.
Okay. good
Because I
to
think
know.
my mother lives like that in close to the airport. She's Houston, but not really Houston, so she
Right.
can't vote for Houston's
That's
mayor. And
right.
I'm like,
Very-
it's
yeah.
weird.
But your mayor makes decisions,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and to me, I call it taxation without representation,
Absolutely.
and basically that's what it is.
Mhm.
And so, depending on what side of the arena you're on, let's talking about the voting issues.
Right.
There are subtle ways,
Mhm.
like gerrymandering.
Oof.
What's the difference between gerrymandering and what they're doing right now
Right.
as it relates to voting?
Right.
So, they're changing polling places, or they're shutting down the hours. Distribution of polling places.
Mhm.
There used to be a lot of polling places where you can go
Right.
to vote.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to suppress people
Yeah.
in rural areas or areas where you don't have a vehicle, or if you don't have a vehicle, you're
Right.
not going to be able to get to certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
You have new rules where it has to do with purging voter rolls.
Yes.
If you haven't voted in several elections, you need to start checking to see if your name is
Right.
even registered,
Right.
because they're going to go in and purge those rolls and take you off. And you go the day of voting thinking you're able to vote,
Right.
and you're not able to. So I think that's gonna be a problem, because we don't do that,
And then
But that's kind of across party lines that could affect.
Yeah,
you know,
Yes.
especially
true.
in rural areas. It's,
Absolutely.
You know,
and that's the great thing about it, is that I telling them that they need to watch both sides
Right.
of the spectrum,
Right,
because
because Florida's going through that right now.
yeah,
What they
Yeah.
have
Mhm.
pretty much curtailed mail-in voting, and it's 80%
Yes.
seniors,
and
and they do right. So
Right.
they really shot themselves in the foot.
so the mail-in voting, that's one of the huge
Yeah,
issues
that's a
right
big
now.
one.
So again, that's your 65 year
Yeah.
and older
Mhm.
with most of your mail-in voting, right? And so you have to try to figure out, how is that going to work?
Mhm.
Can they drive? There was some conversation where they were saying that they were going to, it would be a penalty, or you can be sued, or
Yeah.
you can, if you took some people to the polls.
Yeah, they're making
they're
creating criminal behavior.
and that's for Texas. I know they were doing some
Yeah.
things in Georgia
Well,
too.
now there
And-
are 35 states that are making
And-
these laws now.
Right. And
They want to steal it because they can't win fair and square, so they want to
Right.
make it easier for them to win.
Why can't it just be like when you were in high school and it was just
you just go vote.
just vote?
Right. Just
Okay,
make
you
life
got this
simple.
many votes. You got this many votes.
It's
You
that
won.
simple.
Well, because just think about it.
That power
the
hungry.
Republican Party is struggling right now
Yeah.
to keep their position, and it's always been a struggle.
Uh-huh.
If you looked at the landscape
Right.
of who is sitting in the power,
Right.
it's the older
Mhm.
white men who
Mhm.
have been in power for so long,
Right.
but they're getting older.
Yeah, and,
And
you want to hold on
It's
to it.
always been about power.
Yeah.
It's always been about power. I don't know if you've all ever looked at a documentary, or there was a movie that was on TV called The Family. It's on Netflix right now.
Okay.
And I didn't watch
We're gonna
Okay,
have to
so
look it up.
you got to go and watch
Okay.
that, because that will actually tell you and show you how this came to be.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
How the quietness
Yes.
of everything that used to be so under the cover
Mhm.
came up to the forefront.
Mhm.
And it would have still been going on
Right.
had it not been for what we went through
Right.
the last 4 years.
Mhm.
And so you have drive-through voting.
Yeah.
Now, Harris County decided that because of COVID,
Yeah.
that they would allow drive-through voting, right?
And that makes sense. I mean,
It
that
made
makes
sense,
Uh-huh.
but on the Republican side, they're saying, well, they felt like that was a cheating
Right.
frenzy, sort of.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
Well,
it's a
on that note,
lot.
we're going to take a little short break because it
Absolutely.
gets kind of heavy because we're just starting and it's already heavy.
It's
okay,
already
Miss
heavy.
Gilbert, she's going to take us there.
Oh, we got a
So
lot to
we're going to
cover.
take a little short break and let's get deep into
Let's
Texas
get into it.
politics,
Oh, yeah, we
our
got a platform
infrastructure,
to
and
discuss.
everything else. It's going to be fun.
Yes.
So we'll take a little short break and join us.
Are you living just to get by? Are you looking for some blue sky? How you living? How you living? Are you living just to get by? Are you looking for some blue sky?
Edge Radio TV is holding auditions for new show hosts. Are you a subject matter expert, professional, influencer, book author, thought leader, or business owner with an educational or motivational platform? Then we want to meet you. Send a link of some of your work to edgeradio20@gmail.com and be sure to put audition in the subject line. Join the Edge Radio TV family. Edge TV, because truth still matters.
Are you a small business owner concerned about the downturn in the economy? Top business leaders like Mattress Mac and Warren Buffett will tell you that now is the time to promote your business more than ever. People need your services. Your business needs an edge. Learn about special advertising packages for small businesses right here on Edge Radio. Find out more, give us a call at 281-744-0446. That's 281-744-0446. Edge, because truth still matters.
And welcome back to How You Living on Edge Radio TV. So today we have our woman power, girl power running for governor of Texas, Miss Deidre Gilbert. Yes. So question. So Houston had a huge winter storm, Winter Storm 2021. And I don't know if it's an infrastructure thing, but I was out of power. People I know were out of power. It was rolling blackouts, people burning stuff just to try to survive.
Families died.
Families died. You know, people sitting in cars and the whole. So as the so what do you think the position of the state of Texas or the governor?
How did they handle that?
How should they handle, or what was the problem with that, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the first piece of
especially
the puzzle,
since the hurricane is coming.
Right,
yeah,
we're about to go
we're
there.
We're getting
again.
ready to get into the hurricane season and in the hot season where people are going to start needing to use more energy.
Right.
Where they were starting to talk about this again, conserving, and that was one of the questions. And then they kind of, went away a little bit. But I think it may come back, that conversation. One of the biggest issues was no regulatory oversight. Okay, it's dysfunctional, deregulated. Nobody, again, that's the secrecy. See, that's the secrecy in the legislation. Things that were created or things that were done underneath the cover, because
nobody knew about
nobody knew that we weren't on the same grid as everybody else.
Right.
So Texas decided that they wanted to be on their own grid and their own energy power struggle to get whatever they want. I didn't know myself much about ERCOT. So when I heard of ERCOT, yes, and that's the energy reliability. And so when I went to research for myself, one of the biggest thing that stood out, they were a 501c4 industry. Not a C3, which is a nonprofit.
Okay.
But a C4 is a lobbying organization.
Oh, wow. Oh, my
So
goodness.
the first thing I felt was, how is it, what is a lobbying arm doing energy, right? How are they, how do you do that? You know, what?
But tens of millions of people at their mercy.
But yeah, and how is a lobbying firm or a lobbying organization?
Right.
And it was based upon memberships.
Wow.
And that's another question you asked, and I'm saying, well, who are the members?
Right.
You know, so who are members? And we're talking about lobbying.
Right.
And what did that have to do with energy?
Yeah, that's a lot of questions.
That's a lot of different pieces.
Was that from the top? Was that decision made from the governor's office?
No.
Okay.
And
wow.
Let me take that back. It was structured, the Public Utilities Commission was over that.
Okay.
But our governor decided that they were going to take away some of the regulatory oversight. And he created a bill and signed off on it.
Yeah.
They probably never thought that anyone would ever find out because, again, a lot of this stuff was secret.
Yes.
You know, a lot of the bills that are being passed are done, what I say, underneath the cover.
Yeah.
Right. It's not the Schoolhouse Rock anymore. You remember how a bill used to be
This is
passed?
a bill.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, I showed that.
I
right?
love that song.
And I was like, this is not the way it's done.
Right.
In times past, that's the way it was done. But now it's not done like that. It's done underneath the cover.
Right.
And there are a lot of different pieces of people who are involved in the connection.
Yeah.
And so it was a lobbying firm, right, who was connected to what they call cooperatives. And the members of our own legislative leaders who were sitting in our legislative bodies were owners of electric companies. So let's just say you're a part of the legislative body.
So it's all financial.
You own a company.
Always.
You own a company. And you may have some people in your area, you know how in your zip code you can only have a certain company that you could use. Well, that company is probably owned by a legislative leader, right? And he manages that, and then they're all connected to another company. So the members of these companies were receiving what they call capital assets, okay?
And we're all
capital
so
credits,
ignorant
capital
to this.
assets, right?
We don't
Nobody
know.
knew, and I didn't know.
So do you agree that most of the government is run by lobbyists, basically?
You always hear that. You always hear that. Yeah.
And not only that, but there is an entity that also during my time, not only for this race, but when Jocelyn's case came about, and there was an entity called ALEC.
Yes.
The American Legislative
based
Exchange.
in Florida?
Well, they're based really in every state
house. It's a filthy entity.
Yes.
I do know
what
that.
they do,
I think I remember that too.
Yeah.
I remember hearing about
they
that.
create all of the legislation that is coming into our state houses. And again, like I said, it used to be the Schoolhouse Rock thing,
Right.
but now it's more of ALEC, who creates model legislation, and every state house has someone that sits in their state house that are on a committee. So if there's a housing committee, we have one. Matter of fact, Texas has, I believe, 40 legislative leaders who are part of ALEC.
Wow, that is really something.
Manages those things. So when you see that legislation going to different states, that's why it's so quick, is because the legislation is actually already created.
They have the pipeline.
And they just, all they do is they send it to and they plug it in and, you know, create it to fit their state.
Man, it's so crazy with politics. All these other groups like QAnon, we were concerned about, but that really was.
And this is what they were saying while we were asleep.
Yeah, while you're sleeping,
While we're
while you're
sleeping.
looking at the distraction that
Right.
they create, they're over
All
here
it
signing
is.
things that affect your life for years
Absolutely.
to come.
Exactly.
And
And on top of the energy thing, there's a franchise fee.
oh wow.
So they have a contract with all of our city councils in
Mhm.
every state.
Mm-hmm.
And those city councils set your bills for you, for your solid waste and your telecommunications,
Mhm.
like your cell phone uses, right? So if you look at your bills,
Right.
you will notice that there is a franchise fee
All these
that
fun-
has
yeah.
been
Right.
has been actually
Absolutely.
gone down
Yeah.
to the consumers.
Yes.
So they get a bank account.
It's still this lobbyist group. It was
Yeah.
still under this whole umbrella
Yeah.
for the group, and then they have the subgroup, and then they have the
Yeah.
subgroup,
Yes, and then they have
then
yes.
they charge us.
And then
And they can get away with it
but
because
they
it's
get
just-
money
Right.
every
right.
time they pay certain bills, right? You pay
Mhm.
your bill,
right.
certain amount of that money goes into whatever they want to do, supposedly to help fix that infrastructure,
Right.
whatever they did. But if you think about what happened to a lot of the energy companies during this time, a lot of them went bankrupt.
Uh-huh.
I mean, because we were concerned too that bills were going to go. Didn't some
Right.
people have
They- yeah.
$5,000,
We had-
$10,000
yeah,
bills?
there were
Right.
advocates who
Mhm.
instructed people, especially in Harris County. He said, if you're on auto pay, take yourself off right
Right.
now because they may bankrupt you.
Yeah, because they actually were charging
Like
$9,000.
thousands of dollars.
$9,000.
Yeah.
And so
and
once
it
the
was
once the
like-
cover was pulled
And the
back
water
on
bills.
all this,
Yes.
what's moving forward? What are they doing now, or are they discussing on?
Well, they're discussing, the whole problem is that before all of the infrastructure or all of the things happened and were destroyed,
Uh-huh.
they had an issue some years ago.
right,
They didn't weatherize.
Right. Right.
They didn't follow what the Public Utilities Commission told them
Uh-huh.
to do. They were deregulated after that.
Mhm.
okay,
So it was like, you do your thing and we're going to move on.
Yeah.
And there was no accountability. Nobody was watching the hen house. All of a sudden you get this winter storm, and now the truth has come out that you were told that there were some issues with our grid
Right.
Mhm.
that you didn't do anything about.
So you think we're prepared for the hurricane season?
Really, I have no idea.
Okay.
Now, according to the legislative leaders right now, they're still working on it
Okay.
and still supposedly coming up with ideas of what they're supposed to do. But your present governor is definitely hiring people who are actually quitting.
Hiring
That's
people that are quitting.
interesting.
Right. I mean, every time he appoints somebody,
Right.
They get out of it.
since that happened, they're jumping off the ship.
Uh-huh.
And there's a reason they're jumping off the ship, because it's something much deeper down there that
Right.
they
Something
want to
more
get
sinister.
right, that they don't
right.
want to be
They don't
involved
want,
in.
Right.
And so I think he's just trying to figure out how to maneuver up out of the pit
Mhm.
Okay.
and try to figure out what he's going to do, because he wasn't even talking about it in the
Mhm.
beginning. It was like no conversation
Right.
until people start asking these questions about who are your members, how did they become members, and
Right.
all of these companies are going defunct. You
Right.
don't have nobody. We can't do that.
Right.
The summer's coming. People are going to need electricity.
Even more electricity,
Right.
because
Oh,
remember
it's
they,
gonna-
they give
it's
away
so hot.
fans,
Absolutely.
and it's
Right.
already 90 degrees, and we
Absolutely.
haven't even hit the heat of the
So
Yeah,
summer.
we're
it's
really
not even
gonna-
officially summer yet.
It's not. So we're going to
Yeah.
really have to figure out what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
We have a bunch of bills though, and again, I tell people that it's not what we see on the outside, but it's we need to start looking at the core.
Right.
And like you're saying now, these bills that are coming up, we really need to start looking at the broad language that they're using.
Yeah, especially
and
with
get 'em away.
unemployment, because we're
Right.
still basically
Very.
in
Right.
COVID,
Mhm.
and people aren't working.
That's
Right.
So,
Right.
but we're gonna once again another hot topic. So we'll take a little short break, and maybe we can talk more on Planned Parenthood and
Yes.
on Planned Parenthood.
And I would love to know what your plan is once you get in there. Okay, what you gonna do?
As far as Planned Parenthood is concerned,
As far as running this state.
As far as dealing with this
we
state.
we want to see what the new improved governor.
Okay.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So we're going to take a little short break, and please join us. Come right back.
Be right back.
Are you living just to get by? Are you looking for some blue sky? How you living? How you living? Are you living just to get by? Are you looking for some blue sky?
We work our whole lives to support our families. With one accident or illness, it can all be gone in an instant. Now there's a smart, affordable way to protect your family. Go to findhealthbenefits.com and discover low-cost life insurance for as little as $2 per month. Add to that a tax-deferred annuity that can help you protect your assets and grow your money for retirement. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. A critical illness can strike without warning and wipe out your life savings. In fact, it's the #1 reason for bankruptcy. Find Health Benefits offers an affordable solution. Get up to $50,000 if you get cancer, stroke, or a heart attack, giving you the peace of mind to focus on getting better while the plan helps you to pay your bills and medical expenses. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. 66% of seniors spend more time shopping for cable TV than Medicare plans. Most say because it's just too confusing. Laws change every year. The wrong plan could cost you thousands and prevent you from seeing the doctors you want. Introducing FindHealthBenefits.com. Save time, save money, see specialists without referrals. Go to FindHealthBenefits.com or call 877-235-6094 for this informative brochure.
Society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
We are back with Ms. Deirdre Gilbert, who is running for governor, and we can't wait to hear what you're going to do once you get in there. But one of the topics we talked about during the break was there was is there a new gun law that was written, bill passed behind our back? I always feel like it's behind our back because I didn't hear about it till it made the news and it was already signed.
Right. So they called it constitutional carry, and then they used the word permitless. Right? Meaning they didn't have to have a permit. And the confusion always is the language that's used.
So can you tell us kind of what this is?
Okay, so let's just think about constitutional carry. What do you think that constitutional carry means in your mind?
That the Constitution allows me to carry a gun, and so it is written in law that I'm able to do that.
Without a permit.
It didn't say.
I thought it said you could carry a gun with no
the
permit.
question is what do you think constitutional carry means?
Well, you mean
right
according to them?
No,
just according to you.
According to me, my constitutional right is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That means not getting shot at the grocery store.
No,
all right. So just don't ask me that question.
So the question is do you
what's
think
the law?
I'm just saying you're thinking that the law means that you just have the right to carry.
Right. Like your Second Amendment rights are being carried out.
But it's not really how the Second Amendment is really written, right? It's like people always say my Second Amendment right to carry,
Constitution,
but it's not really.
But you have to have responsibility.
Yeah, it's still something more to that.
But it's so broad.
Right.
You know, it's a broad language,
right.
And that's what they use. So most people are thinking, I have the right to carry a gun, and they're trying to take this right away.
Right.
Then what they do is then they create legislation that has more bullet points in it that had nothing to do with the constitutional carry or your right to carry a gun.
Okay.
Now what you've put into law is, now what we're going to say is that you don't have to have a permit.
So is this for concealed or open carry?
Well, if you don't
Just
have a
period.
permit,
You can have a gun on your person anywhere in the state of Texas.
That's what they're saying.
Okay.
Without a permit.
Has that been passed? Has that been passed?
Yes.
So I can now put a gun in my purse and be okay with that?
Everybody.
Really?
So
that's the law now.
So you
I just
don't
didn't
have
understand.
to. I mean, if there's no permit needed.
There's no
Basically,
permit
I can go
needed?
into the store, buy a gun, and I'm good. I can leave.
Absolutely.
Really?
Where when someone who had issues, who had a felony, or whatever that issue was,
psychological stuff,
psychological problems.
Right. Yeah, but then think of Philando Castile.
Yes.
So you better off saying no, and you cannot violate my Fourth Amendment rights.
So in this
That's a good
piece
question.
is, it doesn't matter. Even students, it doesn't matter now.
Do you have to be 18? Do they at least give you that stipulation?
Permit.
Did you have to be 60? You could have been younger, right? If you had a shotgun and
if you don't have to have a permit, how are they going to know what your age is?
So is this a real law?
I mean, you know, if you're running
that
around
is
here,
nuts.
Well, it used to be.
When did they sign this?
Oh, they're working on it now.
We need to move out of Texas.
It's passed, yes. And here's the thing: it's the Wild Wild West.
It is the Wild Wild West.
Because basically, what they did was it gave them an opportunity to at least be able to do a background check on someone who did not. Now, the other way that other people can, you could go to a gun show though.
Okay.
Yes. And that way was easier because they didn't need to go through the whole process as you would if you went to a store.
So that was a loophole.
That was a loophole, which, I mean, it's almost like what you're going through now.
Okay.
So if
you have your black market.
If you don't have to have a permit, because normally there's certain places, ideally, you're not supposed to carry a gun, like maybe on college campuses, I think.
No, where you remember they had college campuses where they had a designated area where they were telling them that they could have a gun.
And then
so
private property, they have a right to say no firearms on private property.
Yeah,
right?
No, but in the schools they had a designated area where they were telling students that they could actually go to like it's almost like the Wild Wild West.
Good Lord.
You got a little circle there, and we can just go into this circle, and this is where we can do what we need to do.
Wow.
That doesn't sound like this is a good thing.
No, not at all. No. Not at all. Tempers flare.
But here's
even
the
more
thing.
so, like if you don't have a permit.
But you're in the NRA, your National Rifle Association.
Now they're in Texas.
Lobbyists.
Oh, man.
They're pushing this because they keep telling people it's all about your right to own a gun.
Right.
Nobody's taking away the right.
Right.
But there definitely needs to be responsibility. There definitely needs to be regulatory oversight.
Right.
You can't just let people just purchase these guns. Now, if you look at society right now, it's sort of hard to even imagine, because where do you think they're getting these weapons from in these neighborhoods? They have to get them off the black market.
Right.
I don't think that they were just going into grocery stores purchasing these things because they had to go and get what they needed.
Right.
But
so do
on
you
the black market,
so
they have an entity that should be monitoring this.
Right. Right.
However, a lot of the things that were created were not being utilized, like the database that could put this into place, where if you own this gun, we knew who it belonged to.
That's what my question is, because are they going to know who? If there's someone goes out,
it doesn't have to be registered anymore.
If it's not registered, so how do you know? How can you follow the bullets to find out who is the person that did whatever?
Yeah.
So, but you're not saying felons can carry a gun now.
Well, how are you gonna not? How are you?
You don't
gonna
have a
stop
permit.
That?
Okay,
Because
so
if
the
it's
question he
permitless,
asked
yes.
was, if you're pulled over and the cop
And
asks
if
you
the-
if you have a firearm on you, he doesn't have to say, where's your permit for your gun?
Well, not if the bill says that you don't have to.
Okay, but that hasn't been signed yet, hasn't been passed yet, has it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where you come in.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't want to get all...
Yeah, we don't, you
don't
know,
wanna get
because
all-
again,
Right.
it's going to take a lot of looking at the pieces of the puzzle, what's missing. Because I was reading that there is even a way where they know where they can find out where actually gunshot has been done.
Okay.
There is a system that they could use that could tell what type of gun was shot, how far it was, and what type of, where to go.
Right.
They don't use these things. A lot of the databases, let's just even talk about, like for the doctor database, the national practitioner database, or your healthcare, VAERS that for your vaccine injuries.
Right.
All of these databases that they have are not being utilized. So you gotta be very careful with this.
Right.
And when I come into office and when I do become governor, that is something that we're going to have to look at, because I do believe that people should have some sort of documentation, because there is no way that if there is an incident or someone gets killed on any surface of Texas, you'll be able to tell who it belongs to if there is no documentation.
And that affects
everybody. Because that's actually how they do their investigations.
Right.
I mean,
so I would think law enforcement would have an issue with this.
Well, I believe the law enforcement did, because it's going to make their life a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Because
what about the Attorney General? I mean, they should have some issue.
Well, he's a part of the group that, goes with the crowd. Yeah. And a lot of things. And if you just think about the way that our elections were run, it's sort of like they always go with the crowd.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Which is so weird is that they were like, how in the hell was Ted Cruz elected? Help me understand. Nobody likes him. Nobody in his group likes him.
He better not get it now, since he was since in Winter Storm. He was going to Cancun.
He's a horrible person.
But here's
I'm sorry,
and that's the thing, is that we have people that
just go with the flow. You just go with the flow. Or else if people do the straight ticket.
But you got to
think about it. So that
means
means anyone under that ticket gets it.
But you got to think about it again. It's not what we're looking at. It's all about power.
Right.
It's all about power.
Right.
So even now, in all of this, even though it may be wrong, and they know that it's missing some elements, and some elements need to be there, they don't care, because it's about power.
Right. They don't care. As
And
long as they
make,
and this is why they kept someone like Trump in the office, because he kept them with the power that they needed. They didn't care all the horrible things he was doing, because he was allowing them to get a lot of things done. And so they didn't care how he acted. They didn't care about his behavior, because he was signing off on whatever they told him to sign off, and that kept them in power. And that's what goes on.
So as you can tell, we're going to have you to come back.
Oh,
absolutely.
Man. We haven't even scratched the surface.
The first Monday, we'll have you come back for sure, because there's other things that we need to discuss, and we can have you come back and definitely talk to us.
Yes.
So say some people want to start to volunteer, want to work with you on your campaign. How do they get in contact with you, and are you looking for volunteers?
Yes, we're always looking for volunteers. So the first place is go to gov.gov.com, and you can sign up there, and that will go straight to the volunteer section, and they can get in contact with anybody who wants to volunteer. They can follow me on social media. We're on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram,
all the stuff,
and all of that. And I'm just asking that you just share the message.
Okay. Do you have a phone number for your campaign if anybody wants to call?
That is also on the website.
Perfect.
Everything is on the website that you can call and reach out to my campaign manager. She will definitely help you maneuver whatever it is that you need to get done.
Okay.
Well, I hope that you're able to come back the first Monday of next month.
Yes.
Okay,
So that way, we
Definitely.
can
We got
keep
a
it
lot
on everybody's mind, because
Yes.
sometimes we can forget
Uh-huh.
and we get amnesia. So this way we
Yes.
can keep it on the forefront moving forward. So we
Absolutely.
can.
Consider yourself booked.
Well, thank you.
You're booked.
Thank you, and I
She's
just
booked.
appreciate you so much for allowing me to be here.
We love to have
Girl, we
you
only,
get
we only
involved.
got on a few
Yeah.
topics. We got
Yes.
way more to do.
Yeah.
And that's just the surface.
I
Yeah.
know.
But, you know,
Oh my goodness, I'm
yes.
scared.
So, guys, you get your questions ready for June, the first Monday in June, because Deirdre will be back.
I'll be back.
But we want to
Who
thank you
says
guys
that?
for being
Arnold
part of the show.
Schwarzenegger.
She'll be back. But
Because
thank
if
you
you
guys.
want to, if you want to see change, you really have to
Right.
to step into it, right?
Yes. So,
Yeah.
just like we
Yes.
have to ask every week, and please be part of this. We want to know, everybody out there, how you living? Take care.
Peace.